welcome back to Lessons from Locust Grove. Today's lesson is on the parts of a flower. So you'll see we are back in my garden here in the backyard. You might see my dog running around because we're being healthy at home today. But what we're going to talk about are the parts of the flower. It's springtime, we've gone on lots of walks around our neighborhood, so I was inspired to do a lesson on what makes up a flower. So let's talk about the parts of a flower. There are 5 key parts that go into every flower that you see. So let's learn them together. First, at the very bottom of the flower are part 1, the roots. The roots help get all of the nutrition from the earth and the water when it rains, and it helps transport that water and the nutrition to the rest of the flower through the next part, the stem. The stem, you'll see, helps transport all of the water and nutrients all the way up until it reaches the next part, the petals. So you'll see the petals of the flower, they're brightly colored, they're really pretty. These help attract bees to our 4th part, the pollen. Now, the pollen here, you'll see in this part that we have all of those little anthers and filaments. They help make up that pollen, and that is what the bees will land on to transport to their hives. Now the last part are the leaves. So you'll see this rose bush has a lot of leaves all over. The leaves act as kind of satellites. They help to draw in that sunlight and get that sun to the stem and the roots to help the plant grow big and strong. So let's name the 5 parts of the flower together one more time. We have the roots, the stem, the petal, the pollen, and the leaves. So sometimes when you plant flowers, they don't always come up, and you just have to hope for the best. Now when a plant does start to grow, that means that it's germinating. That means that it's in the ground and that it's working on growing and germinating and becoming a nice big flower. There are some really main ways that flowers get their food and their water and their nutrition. So that is all part of a process called photosynthesis. Now when the flowers get sunlight, you'll see the sun shining this morning. When the flowers get that lovely sunlight, that's basically the flower's food. It's helping it grow, and it needs that sunlight to grow. It gets water. If we water it with our hose, we're helping it along, but it needs that nice rainfall. So rain helps our plants get that water they need so they don't get dehydrated. So between the earth, the sun, and the water, that is a main part of how these roses, these flowers, are able to grow. Now this is a knockout rose bush. It means it's a little bit smaller and the blooms are a little bit smaller than a normal rose that you would see in a bouquet. But you'll see this bush has lots of different buds on it. So the buds, that is the beginning of the flower. It's a little flower baby. So you'll see inside the knockout rose we have here, there are other parts of the flower. Those brown parts you see, those are called anthers. Now the anthers are attached to the long, thin stems. Those are called filament. The anthers and the filament inside our flowers are really important for little things you see flying around that you might not be a big fan of. Anthers and filament carry that pollen, and that's really important for our bees. Now bees, they might be scary, we might be afraid that they're going to sting us, but bees make something that we love called honey. But they can't do that without our beautiful flowers that we have around us. Now they land on these flowers, they start collecting that pollen that they see inside, and then they take that back to their hives, and that's how they make their honey.